But what an amortization schedule is it tracks the payments in the loan and the portion of each payment that goes towards interest and that goes towards principal. To create an amortization schedule, we need a loan and to calculate out what the payments are going to be. So to make this easier, I'm going to go ahead and do a loan that's not quite as complicated as the one we just found. And we're going to go ahead, we'll figure out what the payments are going to be, and then we'll create the schedule. So suppose you need $10,000 to start a new business. You obtain a 3-year loan at an 8% annual rate, and you make semi-annual payments. Now this loan requires that you do a 20% down payment. So the first thing I'm going to do is figure out what the loan is actually going to be for. It's going to be for $10,000, but I'm going to pay the 20% ahead of time, which is $2,000, so the actual loan is going to be for $8,000. My interest rate per period is going to be 4% or 0.04 because it's 8% annually. Semi-annually means I do twice a year, so 4% each time. And that means that my 3 years is going to equate to 6 periods. So I'm going to take those numbers, I'm going to go ahead and put it into our formula that equates the compound interest and the annuity. So I get 8,000 times the quantity 1.04 to the sixth equals R times the quantity 1.04 to the sixth minus 1 divided by 0.04. I'll work out as much as possible on the left and the right hand side. So the left hand side becomes $10,122.55. And on the right hand side, our quantity in the brackets is 6.633. Now I've stored those completely in my calculator, but I've recorded them to a limited number of decimal places just to make it easier. So I'll take the quantity 10,122.55 and I'll divide it by 6.633 to get the payment. So I get my semi-annual payment is going to be $1,526.10. I've rounded up on these things because if I don't round up, there's a possibility that at the end of the term, I may not actually have paid off the entire loan. Generally speaking, you'll see banks always rounding up on these things, although some of them do some strange kind of things to make their loans work out. And we'll see that when we work out our entire schedule. For me, I'm always going to round up everything. We know what our payment is. We know we're going to pay back a total of $10,122.55. If we subtract off what the original loan amount is, we see that we're going to have $2,122.55 in interest that we're going to be paying. So with that in hand, let's go ahead and create our amortization schedule. And all this is going to be is a big table. So in this table, we're going to have columns that correspond to the payment number, the payment amount, the interest that's in that payment, the principal that's in that payment, and then what the principal is at the end of that period. So remember we had 6 periods that we're going to do. So the first thing I'm going to do is in that first column, I'm going to go ahead and put in those payments. So we're going to list those 0 through 6. I put a 0 in here to correspond to what's happening at the very beginning of my loan. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and put in what the payments are. So for period 1 through 5, we just found out that it's $1,526.10. I'm going to leave the very last one open because of my rounding. I may have to adjust that final payment a little bit. And I'm going to go up and say at the end of payment number 0, at the very beginning of the loan, I owe them $8,000. So I'm going to put that in right away. So that's my starting point in my amortization schedule. The next thing I do is I'm going to go work out for that very first payment how much of that is going to be interest, and I'm going to go ahead and put that number in here. The interest for that period is 4% of the principal, and the principal is $8,000 at this point. So I'm going to take 0.04 times 3,000, That's $320. So that's the interest that I'm going to be paying for that period. I'm making a much larger payment here, so the rest of it must be going towards the principal. So if I go ahead and take the $1,526.10, I subtract off my $320 in interest, that means that the principal in that payment is going to be $1,206.10. And now that's going to get applied towards the principal of $8,000 that I owe. So I'll go ahead and I'll take my $8,000. I'll subtract off the principal that was in that payment, the $1,206.10, and what that's going to leave me with is $6,793.90. Now that's what I owe at the end of that particular period. Now that I've got that first line, I've filled in everything for the first payment. I'm going to go ahead and do exactly the same thing for the second payment, but I'll have to change my numbers because instead of owing $8,000 like I did before, now I only owe $6,793.90. So now I'll go down and I'll compute the interest for the second payment. So I'm going to take 4% of my $6,793.90, and that's $271.76. So that's the interest on that payment. To figure out the principal, I'll go ahead and take my payment, $1,526.10. I'll subtract off the interest, which is $271.76. So I know what I'm paying towards the principal is $1,254.34. Subtract that off of my principal over here, and now my new principal, what I owe at the end of this payment, is $5,539.56. So this is a pretty straightforward process. Once you've listed out your payments, you'll always be figuring out what your interest is, and then the portion of your payment that goes towards the principal, and then what the principal is at the end of that payment. So I'm going to continue doing that for the next couple of periods. So I've filled those numbers in here, and now I'm down to the very last payment, and on that very last payment, I owe $1,467.40. So now I'm going to go down here, and I'm going to figure out what my interest is, and that's going to be 4% of that number, and I get $58.70. Now what's a little bit different is before we'd look at the payment to figure out what the principal is, but I know that I have to pay off the $1,467.40 here in my very last payment, so that's what I'm going to put right there. If I go ahead now and combine the interest and the principal together, add those together, that tells me what the payment is going to have to be for my very last payment. And in this case, it's exactly what all the other payments are. In a lot of situations, it's going to be a little bit less what those payments were, because remember, we usually round up, so we're usually paying slightly more than what we probably should, and so then our last payment is a little bit less. And so we'll take care of that in the very last step. And so what that now means is my principal at the end of that payment had better be 0, because we paid it off right here. So let's take a look at this table now. The interest was quite large at the very beginning because we owed a lot more money at the very beginning of that. As we paid off the loan, the interest that we were paying got lower and lower until then the very last payment, it was only $58.70. The principal, what we were paying towards the actual loan amount, started out smaller and got larger and larger. Because remember, our payment doesn't change, but if our interest is getting smaller, the amount of principal in each one of the payments must be getting larger and larger. So it went from $1,206.10 to $1,467.40. And that's the way these loans usually work, is that your interest is large at the beginning because you owe a lot more at the beginning, but at the very end when you owe less, your interest is going to be a lot less. And so this is a typical amortization schedule. The one thing that I have to tell you is it can get a little bit nasty, because if this is a 30-year loan, this is going to have a lot of rows in it. And that's when it comes in handy to use Excel to generate these things. And that's what you're going to be learning in your technology assignments, is how to use Excel to create one of these tables, so you don't have to do it line by line. You can use the fill feature in Excel to make it a lot easier.